So you've asked yourself a very important question that we all ask ourselves at some point in our life. Should I get back together with my ex? And I'm here to give you 2 reasons why I believe you should. And mind you, I actually believe in most circumstances that you probably should not. But I want to say there's always an exception to the rule, right? And obviously every situation is different for every person. And, let's say you were in a very serious, long-term committed relationship. The stakes are going to be a little bit higher. So it's going to involve a little bit more thought and consideration. Whereas if you were just dating somebody casually, maybe just having fun, maybe you were a few months in, the stakes are not as high. So maybe you don't have to overthink it and be like, you know what, sure, I'm willing to give it another go. Maybe the timing wasn't right or whatever, there was miscommunication. You know what, by all means, right? So some people say it's better to regret the things that you didn't do, the things that you did do in life versus the ones that you didn't. But again, let me dial it back a little bit. I'm going to give you the 2 scenarios because this topic could get really broad and extensive, and I want to just try to keep it simple for you as you're thinking about this, and your ex may be simply a girlfriend. It could have been maybe a fiance or even a wife, and you guys are separated. So in my opinion and experience, I believe that there's 2 scenarios where it's perfectly okay to get back together again and retry. Scenario number 1 is if the breakup was a mistake. And that means the both of you are thinking and feeling the same way. It's mutually agreed upon that, hey, you know what? Maybe we didn't make the right decision. And that usually comes when the decision is made under duress. You guys may have just may have been butting heads for something and just sort of made an emotionally rash decision. You didn't think it through. You didn't try to talk through your issues. And you just sort of rushed to the decision and be like, you know what, we're throwing in the towel, screw it. And that's fine. That happens. We all get heated up as human beings, and sometimes we go at it and then suddenly we want to break up, so the makeup is perfectly natural if it's fresh, and also if you guys are both realizing that it was a mistake. That's up to you guys to decide. Did we really mean what we say? Do we really want to be apart? If you're better together, if you need and love each other, and obviously get into the occasional argument like all couples do, obviously a breakup could be a mistake, but that's something that you'd have to realize almost immediately, and not prolong for too long. So that's one scenario where obviously I believe that you balance the scales and you determine if there's a lot more good in this relationship than there is bad. Then it's worth fighting for, it's worth preserving, it's worth keeping, or getting back together if you guys have broken up, quote unquote. So I know that's happened to me, and it's one of these things where you realize, hey, you know what, maybe we didn't make the best decision. And again, this has to be mutually agreed upon. You guys both have to feel the same way, like, you know what, I'm sorry for the things I said, I didn't mean them, I love you, and I want this to work, I want us to figure this out. Whatever your issues are, all couples have them. So by all means, fight for those relationships that are worth fighting for people that are worth fighting for, because no relationship is going to come easy, right? I don't believe in that whole grass is greener on the other side. The grass is greener where you water it and give it sunlight and take care of it. So that's the first scenario, again, where you guys mutually figure out and agree that for whatever reason the breakup happened, it was not the right decision, okay? And that's going to be for you guys to decide. The second scenario where I believe it's perfectly okay and acceptable, it could be after a definite breakup and a long-term separation where you guys definitely went your own separate ways. You went on with your lives, you moved on, maybe you dated again, maybe some time has passed. I would think of at least a few months, maybe a few years. And I've heard stories like this happen where, the 2 people break up and they grow, they start to, they'll grow up, they'll mature, they'll become better individuals. And then maybe something, fate or destiny, if you believe in that, brings them back together, sometimes by chance, believe it or not. And I've heard real stories like this where, 5 years later, 10 years later, you run into the person again, you're like, oh my God, how you doing? Like, it's been so long. And then suddenly a fire is rekindled, and maybe it's meant to be. But the difference being that you guys have both grown, and you've changed, and you've improved, and your life is not the same, and you're different people because you've grown up. And maybe those issues that you had that led to your original breakup would not play a factor in a new relationship. So, and if you guys are both, liking each other and feeling like, hey, maybe we should try this again. Like, you still single? I'm still single. Like, let's go have a coffee. Let's catch up. I want to see how you're doing. And then suddenly something is rekindled, but you're not the same people that you once were when you were together. That's, I think, the second scenario where it's perfectly acceptable, and I would actually encourage you to give it another shot, because you guys would obviously remember that there was some good in the relationship, and something that obviously brought you together, that you liked each other, and maybe there's something there to build on. And if there isn't, no harm done, right? I mean, no harm, no foul. But it's worth exploring. It's worth exploring that opportunity to see if it leads anywhere. And I've heard some pretty amazing love stories where people come back together that way by happenstance or serendipity, whatever you want to call it. So those are two scenarios. And I know, you're welcome to throw it in the comments and everything. And I know people are going to say, what about parents that want to stay together for their kids? And that's a whole other video for a whole other time. Let me just say that as somebody who went through that, both as a child of divorce with my parents, and also a parent who unfortunately had to divorce and go through that with my kids, it's not sufficient enough reason to stay together just for the kids. It can certainly be an encouraging, motivating factor to push and try to preserve and save the relationship. And I do encourage that, to try to keep families together. I'm definitely all about that, but it should not be the sole sustaining reason why you stay together with somebody. So it's just not enough. That being said, it's possible to stay together, quote unquote, as co-parents, and not necessarily be in a relationship, but be successful at raising kids that you may have together without any animosity, and I know that's hard to come by, but it is possible if both parents are willing. So that's a way that you can technically stay together, not romantically, but as a team, right? So that's my short answer for that. But those are the two scenarios where I would encourage you to have an open mind. I know most people are going to say, screw it, leave the ex behind, don't touch her with a 10-foot pole, and I think probably 8 out of 10 times I'm going to agree with those people and say it's probably best not to, even if the ex eventually, you're on good terms, for example, and that's fine. Stay friends. Whatever you want to do is up to you. But romantically, I think most of the time you should move on to bigger and better things, and leave it where it is. Take it as a learning experience, and that's it. No regrets or anything like that. No hard feelings. But those two situations that I mentioned, if your breakup was a mistake and you both mutually agree on that, or if the breakup happened long enough time ago that things are different, you're different, your life is different, circumstances are different, and maybe now is the right time for you guys to get together. So I hope that was helpful. My name's Jose. I run swagacademy.com. I've got lots of great training. Hit the link in the description below and get some more free training. I'd love to connect with you as well, so feel free to drop some comments, and I'm going to see you guys in the next video.